Chosen one, pause for a moment and listen with clarity. What you're witnessing right now is not random chaos, emotional instability, or coincidence. Something about you was just discovered, something they never expected, never prepared for, and the moment that truth surfaced, their inner world cracked. That's why they're spiraling, lashing out at others, crashing where everyone can see it, because Allah revealed what they tried to deny. You didn't expose yourself. You didn't defend your name. You didn't fight for recognition. You stayed silent, stayed patient, stayed obedient, and Allah stepped in. This message is for the one who was underestimated, misread, and quietly watched while people wrote a false story about your life. These lessons will show you why their meltdown was inevitable, why your restraint terrified them, and how Allah proves who His chosen ones are without noise, without chaos, only truth. When Allah raises someone, He does not need their voice to prove it. He allows reality itself to testify. And this is what shattered them, because they built an image of you based on silence, restraint, patience, and distance, mistaking your humility for weakness and your obedience for insignificance, not realizing that Allah was watching every moment you swallowed pain without complaint, every time you chose dignity over reaction, every time you walked away instead of proving a point. And when Allah finally revealed your true rank, through wisdom in your words, authority in your presence, calm in your decisions, and stability under pressure, it exposed how wrong they were without you lifting a finger. And this kind of elevation terrifies insecure hearts, because it proves that power does not come from noise, dominance, or control, but from divine favor. And when Allah shows people that He favored you quietly while they were busy performing loudly, it humiliates the ego, fractures false superiority, and forces them to confront the truth that you were never behind them, you were protected above them, growing in unseen places, strengthened in solitude, and aligned with Allah while they were distracted by appearances. And this is why your silence became unbearable to them, because it carried weight, certainty, and authority that could only come from Allah, proving that real rank is not claimed, it is revealed by Him alone. Chosen one, what you are witnessing now is not hostility toward you, but panic from exposure, because anger erupts when a carefully maintained illusion collapses, and Allah just dismantled the false narrative they built about themselves and about you, revealing truth without your involvement. And this is why their emotions feel uncontrollable, misplaced, and explosive, spilling onto others who had nothing to do with the situation, because when Allah exposes hypocrisy, insecurity, and hidden intentions, the ego scrambles to protect itself, and rage becomes the last defense of a crumbling identity. And notice this carefully. You did not change, you did not provoke, you did not confront, yet their behavior shifted dramatically, because the trigger was not your actions, but the realization that they were wrong about you, wrong about their power over you, and wrong about the position they thought they held in your life. And this kind of exposure is unbearable for those who survive on control and image, because now they must face the truth that their manipulation failed, their assumptions collapsed, and their hidden motives are surfacing. And Islam teaches us that when Allah removes the veil from someone's heart, whatever was inside comes rushing out, and for them it was anger, resentment, and fear, while for you it was calm, clarity, and restraint. And this contrast is what exposes reality most painfully, because it proves that Allah was refining you while they were deteriorating, and their outburst is not a threat. It is evidence that truth has cornered them, and they have nowhere left to hide. Chosen one, your silence was never weakness, it was discipline, trust in Allah, and restraint born from certainty. And this is exactly why it became a mirror they cannot escape. Because when you refuse to argue, explain yourself, chase validation, or defend your name, Allah removed all distractions and forced them to face their own intentions, insecurities, and hypocrisy without your voice to blame or distort. And silence has a way of amplifying truth when Allah is involved, because it leaves no room for manipulation, no narrative to twist, and no reaction to provoke. And as time passed, your calm consistency stood in sharp contrast to their instability, revealing that you were anchored in faith while they were driven by ego. And this mirror terrified them, because it reflected their envy, resentment, and hidden guilt back at them, while reflecting your growth, clarity, and peace forward for everyone to see. And Islam teaches that Allah loves restraint and hates injustice. And when a servant chooses silence over sin, Allah takes over their defense, turning patience into proof and dignity into evidence. And now they are trapped with the image of who you became without them and who they remained despite all their efforts. And this realization is inescapable, because you moved on in obedience while they stayed behind wrestling with the consequences of their own actions, proving that sometimes the strongest response is no response at all. Just trust in Allah and keep walking. Chosen one, the realization that truly shattered their confidence was not simply that you survived, but how you survived, because they are now seeing clearly that you were never walking alone, never abandoned, never exposed the way they assumed, since Allah was with you in every hidden moment, standing guard over your heart, your mind, your path, and your destiny, while they were busy misjudging your silence as weakness and your isolation as defeat, not understanding that Allah often draws His chosen servants into solitude, not to break them, but to strengthen their connection with Him, to refine their intentions, and to teach them reliance that does not shake when people leave. And when this truth finally reached them, it was terrifying, because they had convinced themselves that you were unsupported, that no one was backing you, that your calm meant resignation, when in reality your calm came from tawakkul, from trusting Allah in ways they never had the courage to do. And Islam teaches us that Allah is closer to His servant than their jugular vein, nearer in hardship than ease. And you lived that closeness quietly, praying when nobody saw, crying in sujood instead of complaining publicly, choosing obedience when shortcuts were available, and trusting divine timing when nothing made sense. And now they are forced to confront the fact that every attempt to undermine you failed not because you resisted aggressively, but because Allah intervened subtly, blocking certain harms, exposing hidden enemies, removing you from environments that would have destroyed you, and delaying outcomes only to protect you from consequences you couldn't see at the time. And this realization collapses people internally, because it exposes how powerless human schemes are against divine protection, how foolish it is to underestimate someone whose relationship with Allah is strong, and how dangerous arrogance becomes when people assume they can outmaneuver destiny. And what hurts them most is recognizing that while they were busy watching you struggle externally, Allah was building you internally, strengthening your discernment, deepening your faith, and aligning circumstances in your favor without announcement. And when Allah finally allowed your stability, wisdom, and peace to surface, it became undeniable proof that you were guided, not lucky, protected, not spared randomly, and chosen, not coincidentally, and this truth forces them to reevaluate every assumption they made about you, every judgment they passed, every moment they thought you were falling behind, because now they see that Allah was carrying you through every dark season, turning loneliness into divine companionship, setbacks into spiritual elevation, and silence into strength. And once people realize they misread someone Allah was actively guiding, it shakes their sense of control completely, because they must accept that they were never dealing with you alone. They were dealing with someone Allah was walking with the entire time. Chosen one. One of the deepest truths that those around you often fail to see is that your growth was never dependent on their recognition, approval, or attention, and yet this is exactly what makes your rise so disorienting to them, because while they were busy scrutinizing the surface, your moments of quiet, your periods of patience, the way you avoided conflict, the pauses in your speech, the absence of your immediate reaction, they completely missed the profound transformation taking place within you. And this is where Allah's wisdom operates in ways that humans cannot perceive. While the world measured you by appearances, Allah measured you by intentions, by unseen efforts, by the sincerity in your heart, by the discipline with which you obeyed Him even when nobody was watching, by the resilience you cultivated in the private moments when despair whispered louder than hope, and by the prayers you offered in secret that fortified your soul and aligned your destiny with His divine plan. And this hidden growth is what ultimately leaves people stunned when they finally notice your elevation, because they thought they were observing weakness, stagnation, or even insignificance, when in reality Allah was engineering a transformation that they could not understand, because it does not conform to their superficial standards or their timelines of success. And this is precisely why their reaction is so intense. They expected to find someone still beneath the challenges, still limited by circumstances, still dependent on approval. But instead they are confronted with someone whose foundation was being built in a sacred, intentional space where no human eye could intrude, and the realization that your power, wisdom, and composure were growing while they were misreading. Every sign is destabilizing, because it reveals how little control they ever had, how fragile their assumptions were, and how completely outmatched they are when divine alignment intersects with patience, integrity, and steadfastness. And Allah allows this process to unfold quietly because He does not need fanfare, because true elevation never seeks validation, and because what is built in alignment with Allah's plan is impervious to human judgment or interference. And as a result, your advancement happens invisibly, almost imperceptibly, until the moment Allah chooses to unveil it. And then suddenly, without warning, your growth becomes undeniable proof that obedience, patience, and sincerity surpass arrogance, noise, and superficial scrutiny. And this revelation is what triggers their disorientation, because they spent so much energy trying to read your trajectory through flawed lenses, expecting vulnerability and instability. And instead, they are met with mastery, wisdom, and clarity that they cannot explain except as the consequence of divine favor. And this is why Allah allows their observation of the wrong things to continue. They are witnessing their own errors magnified by your success, their assumptions shattered by your unseen preparation, and their judgments dismantled by the very patience they misinterpreted as weakness. And in that moment, you are not only elevated, but their inability to comprehend your rise becomes a silent testimony of Allah's justice and wisdom, because He builds, strengthens, and aligns those He chooses in ways that are imperceptible to the world, but undeniable in results. And this is the ultimate lesson for you. Your growth does not require the applause of the world, the understanding of others, or the acknowledgement of those who doubted you, because Allah's measurement of your progress is perfect, His timing flawless, and His methods unmatched. And while they were watching the wrong things, comparing you to standards that do not apply, misreading your patience as passivity and your silence as weakness, Allah was refining your heart, sharpening your vision, expanding your understanding, and positioning you for victories that could never be visible to anyone who does not comprehend the depth of divine orchestration. And when the time comes for revelation, when your results speak louder than words, their shock is proof of the invisible work Allah accomplished within you, proof that true success is born in the hidden chambers of obedience, integrity, and faith, proof that when Allah is with His chosen ones, growth cannot be hindered, and proof that no amount of human scrutiny, judgment, or envy can alter the divine design that elevates you above those who merely watch while you build. Chosen one, this is a truth so profound that most cannot comprehend it. Yet it is central to understanding why you have remained untouched, despite the storms of envy, betrayal, and misguided attacks swirling around you, because Allah's protection is not only about elevating you, it is about shielding you from harm in ways that the human eye cannot perceive. And what you are witnessing now, the chaos, the unraveling, the emotional collapse of those who underestimated you, is not meant to touch you. It is redirected, contained, and neutralized by divine will. And this is why their meltdown appears erratic, disproportionate, and at times completely misdirected, because Allah allows the consequences of their actions, the weight of their lies, the fallout from their arrogance, and the exposure of their hypocrisy to manifest fully, but He redirects it so that it falls on them or spills into spaces that do not harm you, because your journey is sacred, your mission is precise, and your heart must remain intact to continue walking the path that Allah has designated. And to understand this is to grasp the magnitude of divine orchestration. Every attempt to harm you, every whisper meant to defame you, every manipulation intended to sway your life or reputation has been intercepted, rerouted, and neutralized, while those who intended it experience the very consequences of their actions. And this redirection is not random. It is deliberate, meticulous, and perfect, because Allah does not merely defend. He ensures justice manifests in a way that exposes the truth, maintains your dignity, and delivers lessons to those who challenged, doubted, or tried to obstruct you. And this is why you see them crashing not directly at you, but elsewhere, at innocent bystanders, at colleagues, at friends, or even at themselves, because Allah is demonstrating a principle that runs through the fabric of His creation. Actions have consequences, but the faithful who trust Him are protected from the fallout, and what appears chaotic to human eyes is in reality the precise unfolding of divine strategy, ensuring that harm intended for you is never fulfilled, while every distortion, every hidden agenda, and every ill-intentioned plot is exposed and contained. And this is also a reminder that your obedience, your restraint, and your patience are not passive. They are active shields, strengthening the protection that Allah continuously provides, so that even in moments when human events seem unpredictable, uncontrolled, or overwhelming, your soul remains untouched, your dignity intact, and your path unobstructed. And this divine redirection has a spiritual dimension that transcends worldly perception. It is a manifestation of Allah's justice, mercy, and precision, showing that He honors those who honor Him, safeguards those who trust Him, and positions His chosen ones so that no matter how much the world conspires, the alignment with His will remains unbreakable. And when you reflect on this, it becomes clear that their collapse, though visible, is not random. It is a lesson for them, a shield for you, and a testimony to everyone watching that Allah's protection is comprehensive, strategic, and always active, because He alone knows the timing, the placement, and the impact that will most effectively uphold justice and maintain the integrity of His chosen servants. And this is why their confusion, misdirected anger, and emotional breakdowns are so extreme. They are witnessing the manifestation of divine justice in real time, while you stand unaffected, elevated, and in peace, knowing that every attempt to harm you has been neutralized, every betrayal rerouted, and every collapse redirected. And in that knowledge lies your strength, your serenity, and your unwavering trust, because you realize that Allah not only elevates and blesses His chosen ones, but He also actively manages the forces around them, turning potential disasters into lessons, misjudgments into clarity, and attacks into proofs of His protection. And therefore, while the world may see chaos erupting around you, you see the quiet orchestration of divine wisdom at work, a protection so precise, so thorough, and so meticulous that it ensures that no matter how intense the storm, your soul, your mission, and your honor remain untouched, proving once again that when Allah chooses to shield, guide, and elevate, nothing can penetrate the boundary of His favor. Nothing can derail the destiny He has written, and nothing can harm the one He has set apart as His chosen servant, because every force that rises against you is recalibrated, neutralized, and redirected, ensuring that your path remains straight, your rise unhindered, and your position secure, while those who sought to harm you experience the weight of their own miscalculations, witnessing firsthand the consequences of attempting to challenge what Allah has decreed. And in this lies a profound lesson for all who are watching. Trust Allah fully, move in obedience, act with patience and integrity, and He will not only elevate you, but He will actively protect you from the collapse of others, redirecting every blow, neutralizing every scheme, and allowing you to witness divine justice unfold in ways that leave no doubt that He is with His chosen, and that His orchestration is perfect, meticulous, and unassailable, because when Allah intervenes, no chaos can touch the one He protects, no envy can penetrate the one He favors, and no human plot can succeed against the one whose life is aligned with His divine will, demonstrating that ultimate protection, elevation, and vindication belong solely to those He chooses, and that the collapse of others is often the clearest evidence of His strategic, flawless justice in action. Chosen one, understand this clearly. The chaos, the unraveling, the meltdown you are witnessing in the lives of those who misjudged you is not random, and it is not merely a reflection of their own weakness. It is undeniable confirmation that you were walking in truth, that your path was aligned with Allah, and that every step you took, every choice you made, every restraint you exercised, and every moment of patience you endured was in obedience to Him. And when people who opposed you, doubted you, or tried to manipulate your trajectory experience collapse, it is because Allah allowed them to confront the consequences of their arrogance, their false assumptions, and their attempts to oppose what He ordained. And the reason this is so profound is because it validates everything you endured in silence, everything you overcame without recognition, and everything you achieved without approval, because while they were watching the wrong things, focusing on what appeared insignificant, misinterpreting your silence as weakness, your patience as passivity, your distance as abandonment, Allah was orchestrating your growth, your protection, and your elevation. And now, when the results are undeniable, their shock is a testament to your alignment with divine will. Because those who tried to measure you by worldly standards, who assumed that noise equaled power, dominance equaled success, or manipulation equaled control, are forced to confront the reality that real strength, real rank, and real influence do not conform to their metrics. And this revelation is devastating to them because it exposes how far removed they were from understanding the principles that govern divine favor, protection, and guidance. And it confirms for you that patience, obedience, and integrity, even when unseen and unacknowledged, are far more powerful than any tactic they employed against you, and the intensity of their meltdown is directly proportional to the depth of your unseen triumphs. Because the greater the unseen work that Allah accomplished in you, the purification of your heart, the refinement of your character, the sharpening of your discernment, and the alignment of your path, the greater the shock for those who misjudged, underestimated, and attempted to undermine. And this is why their reactions are erratic, overwhelming, and at times disproportionate. Because the human ego cannot process the sudden realization that someone they dismissed, doubted, or tried to control was walking in truth all along, shielded, guided, and elevated by Allah. And Islam teaches us that truth is a force that cannot be hidden, cannot be destroyed, and cannot be outmaneuvered, because it carries with it the weight of divine alignment. And when Allah allows the manifestation of that truth to become visible, it is both vindication and warning, proof for the believer that patience is never wasted, that obedience is never unnoticed, and that every hardship endured with sincerity strengthens the servant in ways the world cannot measure, and proof for the misguided that opposing the one Allah protects carries consequences that cannot be avoided, redirected, or mitigated by human effort, because divine justice always reaches its target. And it reaches it in precision, timing, and impact that only Allah controls. And in this moment, when you see them crashing, when you see their confusion, disorientation, and emotional collapse, it is a mirror reflecting the correctness of your choices, the strength of your restraint, and the depth of your alignment with Allah's plan. And you must understand that their meltdown is not proof of your power alone, but proof of Allah's power manifesting through you. Because the one walking in truth does not need to fight, argue, or prove anything. Their truth carries a weight that inevitably shifts realities, exposes falsehoods, and dismantles illusions. And this is why their crash is so extreme, because the contrast between your calm, measured, principled ascent and their panic, irrationality, and chaos could not be starker. And it proves that the work Allah did within you while you were unseen, patient, and obedient was effective, unstoppable, and undeniable. And it confirms that your rise, your protection, your victories, and your peace were never contingent on human understanding, acceptance, or recognition, but entirely dependent on walking faithfully with Allah, trusting Him in every unseen moment, remaining sincere when none could witness, and obeying when every shortcut seemed tempting. And now, as the truth manifests and the consequences of their misjudgments unfold before your eyes, it is the clearest affirmation that you were walking in alignment with divine will all along, that every restraint, every moment of patience, and every act of integrity mattered infinitely, and that the world's reaction, even their meltdown, is merely the echo of Allah's perfect justice and the reflection of the path of truth you chose to walk, without compromise, without apology, and without deviation, proving that nothing can dismantle the one He chooses to elevate. Nothing can destabilize the one He chooses to protect, and nothing can obscure the one He chooses to align with His divine plan. Chosen one, take a deep breath and let this sink in what you just witnessed. The unraveling, the shock, the chaos around those who misjudged you is not your doing, and it is not random. It is proof that Allah sees every step you took in patience, every silent struggle you endured, every act of obedience no one noticed, and every moment you trusted Him when the world doubted you. Your elevation is quiet but undeniable. Your protection is precise and unbreakable, and your path is aligned with a purpose far greater than anyone could ever understand. Do not seek validation from those who once underestimated you. Their meltdown is your confirmation, their shock is your vindication, and their collapse is the evidence of Allah's justice in motion. Keep walking in truth, keep trusting in Him, and keep your heart anchored in obedience and patience, because the one who Allah protects, elevates, and guides cannot be shaken by human schemes, cannot be destabilized by envy, and cannot be derailed by misunderstanding. Remember, your rise is not for their recognition, it is for Allah's will. And every revelation, every victory, every moment of peace is a testament to His perfect orchestration. So stand firm, chosen one, walk in faith, and let Allah continue to reveal what they cannot comprehend, while you remain untouchable, elevated, and victorious in ways that only He can orchestrate.